Hello and welcome to the Pod of the Damned. I'm your host Ian, and joining me once again this week, as always, is my co-host Nico. How's it going, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. We're back again, doing another episode. It's all good, you know. I'm not exhausted with Christmas work. I'm sure you're not exhausted with Christmas work.
Yeah, I've got the lurgy.
Oh, you're ill. You're ill.
After last night, I was doing a karaoke and somebody's obviously been ill and singing.
You were just singing too much. That's all it was.
I was barely singing at that, to be honest, last night.
It's not like you. You really are ill.
Okay. I know.
Oh dear, oh dear. Well, we're here again though for another episode. I'm sure you'll manage to plough through, an hour and a half worth of movie review here before you, go back to work. What are you munching on? I can't see what that is.
It's wings.
Wings.
So it's like boneless wings, buffalo sauce.
Boneless wings.
To try
it's not really a wing then if it's boneless, is it?
Well, it's just basically the reconstituted chicken for the wings and fucking made in like a nugget type thing.
Okay. You're gonna make me hungry because I'm already hungry anyway, and like my first plan on as soon as we're like done here today is to go and get food. So you're gonna make me hungry. Anyways, we are the Pod of the Damned. We're a horror podcast that deep dives into a different topic every single week in our quest to create a leaderboard of the best and worst horror movies of all time. This is episode number 95, and in today's show we're talking all about Hocus Pocus 2. This was your Halloween pick, Nico, that we're just getting to here on the 3rd of December.
I know. I've been a bit busy.
We have been a bit busy. We took a little break. We've been back though. We've done a couple of episodes since then, and we've got a few more planned over December. So we'll be back. I have officially worked out that the very first episode of 2024 will be our 100th episode. So we're gonna kick off the year right, at least.
So what are we actually doing for the 100th?
I don't know.
You said to me you had it planned.
Well, plans change. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Oh, Jesus.
New year, new us, Nico. We'll hand you we'll give you your P45.
If I got paid, that would be handy.
Hey. Anyways, so yes, today we're talking all about Hocus Pocus 2. Before we do that though, if you would like to support this podcast across our social media platforms, you can do so on X at Damn Podcast. We're on Facebook and Instagram at Pod of the Damned. You can email us at podofthedamned@gmail.com, or you can subscribe to us on Patreon, patreon.com/Pod of the Damned. You're not going to put me off, Nico. As much as you're trying to by stuffing that chicken. Maybe it's like, is it an erotic thing for you?
A little bit.
Could we just put an OnlyFans up of you just eating boneless chicken wings?
Fully naked, spilling sauce all over myself.
Why do you always have to, like, this is possibly the most clothes I've ever seen you wear on an episode of this podcast.
It's fucking cold.
Remember the good old days, Nico, when we didn't broadcast live and you used to do it naked?
Yeah, I miss those days.
I most certainly do not.
This feels like an imitation of me.
I clothed you.
Yeah, it's not good.
I think it's perfectly fine. Anyways, so we're talking about Hocus Pocus 2 today. We did previously do the first Hocus Pocus. Was that a Halloween episode we did, or was that just a random one we did?
I think we got requested it, actually.
Was that a request?
Or I got requested it.
Is that back when we used to take requests?
Well, I still take requests. Some of the fucking ones I pick are from folk that requested stuff.
Is that like your Christmas pick? Or is that all you?
That is all me, because we're talking about it. I'm like, fuck yeah, it's a Christmas movie.
You messaged me what your pick was, and I was like, is that a Christmas? And then I remember, oh yeah, it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Oh. Anyways,
there's like Christmas songs in it and everything.
Yeah. Anyways, we've reviewed Hocus Pocus previously. We both were big fans of Hocus Pocus, I think, as a lot of people are. The critics were slightly less so. And it meant that the original Hocus Pocus currently sits in 53rd place on the leaderboard with a score of 6.6. With that in mind, Nico, where do you think Hocus Pocus 2 is going to go?
See, I don't know, because this film seems like a generational film. So, like, our generation seem to not like it, and everybody younger seems to love it.
Okay.
So, I genuinely don't know.
So are you just going in with no prediction then?
I'm not sure. Like, I'll say it'll be 6.5 out of 10.
So that would put it pretty much on a par with Hocus Pocus then. So you're saying it's going to be very close in the leaderboard there to the original?
Then I think it will be, yeah, because I think the critics were big on it.
Okay. Okay.
But I might be wrong about that, because I've not looked into it at all, this one.
Well, you've looked into it enough to review it.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
I'm watching it right now. Disney Plus is handy for that.
As you always do. Okay, shall we just dive into it then?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, we're talking about Hocus Pocus 2. This movie was released in 2022, was directed by Anne Fletcher and stars Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy. The IMDb plot is as follows. Two young women accidentally bring back the Sanderson sisters to modern-day Salem and must figure out how to stop the child-hungry witches from wreaking havoc on the world. So, you mentioned there, Nico, in the intro that you thought this was a generational film. People maybe of our generation, not such big fans of it, but the younger generation are bigger fans of it. Is that do you follow that pattern then? Are you not a fan of this?
I quite liked it, but it's not a shadow on the first one, I think.
Okay.
So, I get it. It's the first one, us lot we were brought up with it, and this one is new, and the younger ones seem to love it.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, there is like other folk that have seen both and like it that are like basically from like 20s onwards. But if they're under that, they seem to like this more.
Okay. Okay. Do you want to know something, Nico?
What?
I completely 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
I don't hate this film. I actually think it's alright. I actually think it's got its moments. But for me, and it is probably a lot to do with the nostalgia factor for us, isn't it? Like you say.
Yeah.
Because what did the original come out in? Was it 1990? I want to say 93. I think the original came out. So even for yourself there,
the original was 93, yeah.
Yeah. So even for yourself there, you were what, 12 when that came out?
Yeah.
So
I grew up with this.
You were actually probably very much in the sort of target audience for that movie then. Whereas I was 2 when this came out, but you know, as I sort of reached those years, this was still seen to be like a very, very popular, you know, sort of Halloween film. And for me, I just don't think that the sequel has the heart of the first one. And I don't And I don't know if that's like just the difference in how these types of movies are made now compared to when they were made then.
I wholeheartedly agree with you in that, to be honest.
This is going to be a short episode, Nico.
Fuck it is, eh?
Right, guys, we've agreed. Goodbye.
Like, I'm the same, right? I think this is actually a decent movie.
Uh-huh.
But the nostalgia factor on the original just has it right up there with me. Like, I love the whole start of this. I think the start of it feels like it's going to be good, you know? Like, where it's like the prequel bit where you've got the witch in the forest telling them about power, showing him the book, the whole. But by the way, she's fucking hot in this.
Yeah, the old mother witch, no the kids.
Yeah, she could definitely shame me. I would easily walk through the street and she could shout shame at me, no problem.
Okay.
Like, genuinely, fuck yes. Anyway, like the whole thing in that bit is really, really good. I think it's a good setup for the movie, but then after that, it just feels like it's lackluster and half done.
Yeah.
But yeah, other folk I'm talking to say they love it more because it's more energetic, it's more enthusiastic,
I
and I'm
think
like,
I think what it is though, right? And hi Anna, who's just joined us in the chat. Let us know what you think about Hocus Pocus 2. I think for me is right. I don't think enthusiastic is necessarily the right word to describe it. Like I think people who maybe say that are maybe wrong. I think movies these days just have, especially these types of movies that are aimed more towards sort of teens and younger, because
hmm,
ultimately at the end of the day, I don't think they're really making Hocus Pocus 2 to satisfy a couple of guys in their 30s and 40s. You know,
yeah,
they're definitely obviously going to pay lip service to the fans, and we'll get on to that because I actually think they that's possibly one of the areas where they missed the mark a little bit because they did add quite a lot of like callbacks to the original, but
yeah,
I think, like you were saying, they were a bit lackluster. Anyways, I think overall though, when you go back and watch the original, there's some quite like I don't want to say dark moments, but there's like a few quite bleak moments in that movie. And that
yeah.
doesn't seem to be as apparent in, again, these types of movies that are released, in the last few years. I don't think, anyway. I could be wrong, but, like, that's just the sort of general feeling I get. I felt like the overall vibe of this movie was much more positive, and for me, that
Aye.
potentially took away a little bit from. Well, number one, it took away from the sort of danger factor, if you will, and it just doesn't quite sit right for me with what they were all sort of trying to do.
This movie felt like a bridge for me. It felt like they were passing the Sanderson sisters and they're getting new witches at it. Do you know what I mean? That's what it felt like to me. Because there's a third one coming out. This was not popular. There is a third one being
Yeah,
made
yeah,
now.
yeah. There is a third one coming out. However, the third one has is starring the Sanderson sisters.
Oh yeah, I know that, but I mean, and it feels like
I get what
it's
you're
like a
saying. Like
progression.
yeah, you can see that because obviously we've got the new witch in this film, haven't we? And and
Uh,
and I don't know. Like, is her two friends also gonna become witches? Because
exactly.
the Sanderson sisters, the other Sarah and Mary, they're both witches as well. They're just less powerful witches. But
Exactly.
the main character and the names, like, this is one of the other things, like, I just feel like the actual main characters in this film are really forgettable.
Yes.
Um
And did you notice the colours of them were the witches from what's it called? What's it called again? The three fairies. They were the same colours that Disney always used for the good witches, basically.
the fairy godmothers.
Uh,
Are you speaking about like
they were the same colours.
the Sleeping Beauty and fairy godmothers? Is that what they're
Aye,
called?
they were the same colours.
Aye. Well, it's Disney, innit? Disney always
Yeah.
rehash their shit. Um, Anna says she thinks they tried very hard to make it funny. I'm assuming that means you think they failed in that in that task. I think this film did have its funny moments, and
Yeah.
not necessarily like the opening scene is a funny moment, but I do agree with you that I really actually liked the opening scene because number
Yeah.
one, it gave us some backstory to the Sanderson sisters, which we really didn't get in the first movie. But I
Yeah.
also thought like it wasn't backstory that necessarily had too much impact on the overall. Obviously, them meeting the old sort of supreme witch or whatever you want to call her, But we get a little bit of backstory here, how they become witches, this spell that they're eventually going to go on to use. But aside from that, it's good backstory, and then you have the link to the mayor as well. So it leads into the story, but without it really altering too much about what we already know about the Sanderson sisters. Because I think sometimes when you're watching a horror movie and um and you're going into when you watch a horror movie and we do a sequel or a franchise, and sometimes you get that backstory, but it does kind of just like constantly change your opinion on
Yeah.
the storyline, and I don't think that happened here. And I think the kid actors for the Sanderson sisters did a really good job in that opening scene as well. You know, I just
Yeah.
and I think as well when you look at the overall plot of there was these three witches, they were young, they were vilified. It does kind of start that sort of redemption sympathy arc, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I liked it because, as you said, I totally agree with you on everything you said. It does tie in very, very well with the first one, and it gives you that backstory that was missing. And that I think they started this movie really well by hooking in the older generation with that, and then just didn't deliver on it after that. If you know what I mean?
Yeah, like I don't know. It's really tricky because there is moments in that, but like we'll talk. Let's talk about it because we're obviously gonna again, much like we in our last episode when we had the discussion about Terrifier 2. You're talking about a sequel. You're gonna make comparisons to the original. You know,
Yes.
they rehashed a lot from the
Yeah.
original. You know, a lot of the jokes were remade, like the jokes about all the broomsticks and them not having quite the right
Yeah.
broomsticks. That didn't really land for me. Her coming out in the
Yeah.
Roombas I didn't find particularly funny. I thought that was just like, oh, that's like it just felt like really late, like really cheap and obvious.
I did like the Roomba sucking up the salt though.
Yeah. I mean, that was good. Yeah, I give you that. The song, because obviously, one of the best scenes in Hocus Pocus is Bette Midler singing "I Put a Spell on You." Um,
Yeah.
for obviously we all know that she's gonna have songs in these movies, but one way or another, really just didn't hit the mark anywhere
Yeah.
near the same as "I Put a Spell on You."
Yeah. Like I was one of the things I was going to bring up. Like genuinely, it felt like the wrong song for that situation, but that seems to be a generational thing. Because when I said that, the guy I was working with was like, "Fucking nah, I fucking loved that. I thought it was brilliant."
No,
And I'm like, "Why?" And he's like, "Because it seemed so original and stuff." And I'm like, "No."
it seemed original.
Yeah. So I'm guessing he'd never heard one way or another.
I mean, that song's been covered so many
A million
times.
fucking
Yeah.
times. I know.
Anna says, I mean, it was funny, but I guess at some moments it was too much. Yeah, I think, you know what it is for me, and I never quite know how to put this correctly. For a lot of the characters, not everyone, but from a lot of the characters in here, it was like they were acting for Nickelodeon or Cartoon
Yes.
Network. You know, that sort of,
Yeah.
those like sort of programs that you used to get on there, like Hannah Montana and iCarly, and it's got like that really shitty acting that's really not good.
Yeah.
Or like back into
Yeah.
your old school days of all the programs that was on like CBBC. It's that level of
It
acting.
reminded you of the ones that it was like, yeah, look, I'm acting, but you can do it too. That sort of appeal to kids,
Yeah, and
which can appeal to a lot of kids, and
yeah,
it was very much like that.
yeah. So that for
Yeah,
me was
is
like,
there anything we're going to disagree on this, by the
I don't think so. This if you're listening to this to find us arguing about a movie, I don't know, maybe come back next week.
Sorry, guys.
um,
No, this is the fucking best film in the world. Like, the acting is so much better than
I
the
think
first
for
one.
me,
And
when it comes to the acting, the two people who were really sort of guilty of that sort of level of acting for me was the mayor
yeah,
and Gilbert. Them two for me were like really that kind of acting. They were the two worst.
but the mayor acts like that in every fucking movie he's in.
Yeah, but that's obviously his level then.
Yeah, and it did feel bad that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Going back to musical numbers, and I've been called someone who just doesn't like happiness for this opinion, but I really hate it in a movie that's not a musical. Because Hocus Pocus 2 is not, and Hocus Pocus, they're not musicals, right?
Yes.
But I feel like in the first Hocus Pocus, I Put a Spell on You fits, right? She's cursing the
Yeah.
town, right? Even
Yeah.
in here, even though I don't like it anywhere near as much, one way or another, fits. She's cursing the town, right?
Yes.
When they return, the song does not fit.
Yeah.
And that really, really fucking irritates me in movies.
Aye. Because, like, I like that they tried to include a musical number because the enchanting the town thing. I like it when they do that. It's a good way of doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it has
They
to.
believed that women were witches because they could sing.
Yeah, but it
I
has
like
to fit.
all that.
It has to fit the plot.
Exactly. And one way or another, it doesn't seem like it fits.
It doesn't. It doesn't fit at all. Like, I get, like, I think I understand why they picked the song, because in the first movie they're just distracting the parents, right? That's the whole thing. They're distracting the parents who are at this party, so they're putting a spell on you. It fits.
Yeah.
Here they're looking for the kids, right? That's what they're
Ah.
looking for. They're looking for the mayor. I can't remember what it is, but they're looking for someone.
Yeah.
And one way or another, I'm gonna find you. It fits, right? For as much as we might think that particular song doesn't have as big an impact as it does in the first movie, lyrically it fits.
Yeah, but it comes across as, like, in the first one it comes across as enchanting him. In this one it comes across as cheesy.
Yeah. Oh no, that's what I'm saying. I'm not. I'm agreeing with you. It doesn't come across anywhere near as well as that first one, in my opinion, as well. But I understand why they did it. Lyrically, it fits, right?
Yeah.
But I don't understand why we had to have that other music. There was only one musical number in the original. Again, the only other time they were singing in the original was Sarah, when she's enchanting the children. So again, it fits.
Which I liked.
Yeah, again, that works for me. I have no issues with that. But this big musical number where the witches are back, we know you're back. We're watching Hocus Pocus too. You don't need to make a song and dance about it.
Exactly. But saying that, I did like the throwback to her enchanting the kids when they were like, oh, they're in potions and creams and stuff. And her face was like, so no enchanting.
Yeah.
I did like that, right?
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, I did like that.
Yeah, but that's the sort of humor that kind of works. That's the sort of callbacks in this movie that I kind of liked as well. Because look, we've got Hocus Pocus 2. It's what, 20 fucking 9 years after the original, something like that. By the time it's come out, we have to modernize it. We have to bring it into the 2020s, right? And one of my favourite scenes, let's talk about something positive. One of my favourite scenes in this movie is when they go to Walgreens and they are confused as fuck about literally everything.
I like that. But you're making me older than I feel. It was 93 it was out. Yeah,
that's what I said.
So yeah. Fuck it, so it's near what is that?
29 years.
No, it's not that all, is it? 29 eyes.
29 years!
It is. Fucking hell.
Are you that desperate?
God, I feel old.
Are you that desperate to disagree with me about something that you're just questioning? You're just questioning basic maths.
I'm just fucked, and I'm definitely got the lurgy, so my brain isn't working properly. But yeah, the math part was bad there, and I wish it wasn't that old, to be honest.
Because your brain works perfectly in all our other episodes as well.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, fuck off, right? Now we're gonna argue an argument about age.
Well, I can't help that you're an old fucker.
You're catching up, bitch. Right,
anyway. I don't believe I'll ever actually catch up with you. I'll always be 10 years younger. Thank you very much. Anyways, so the Walgreens.
Senile too.
The Walgreens scene for me is by far the best, one of the best scenes in the movie. They're they get confused by the automatic doors. They're confused by they think it's an apothecary, and they're confused by the fact that it's all lit up. They're confused by the signs in the aisles, and then they're drinking the face creams and spraying and the face mask, and I just think that scene
Loved
for me
all that.
just a lot. Yeah, that scene for me just entirely works. Yeah,
but the store guy when he's giving them stuff and giving them a candle and all that stuff, I would have preferred it if they had him lean more into the slightly evil side. He's too happy, you know what I mean?
I mean, he wants the Sanders sisters to come back though, so he's gonna be happy.
Exactly, but I would have rather it been oh, we'll give you this because it'll fucking, a bit darker, so that it was like
Well, I think that's a
more
point.
cheesy.
I think that's a point we were making earlier, though, about the original not being maybe that little bit more bleak,
Aye,
which potentially is what gives like your main characters that heart that we were talking about as well. You know,
aye.
because I think if it's just that, like you say, it's that cheesiness. It's just really, it's not gonna work.
Mm.
Am I also the only one, right, who really didn't think that the boyfriend was bullying her? Am I like, this is the thing as well, right? So, I'm going to say this once again, right?
Yeah,
We
but
once...
I'll interrupt you for a second. This is called Scottish banter, mate. You know the fact that me and you will dig into each other something chronic, but somebody else says it to us, and the other one's got their back.
Yeah.
Americans don't get that.
No, but what I'm saying is, right, so the boyfriend in the initial scene is seen as this sort of, not a baddie, because he's just this lass's boyfriend, but as the guy who's like split up the friendship group. Am I the only one that thinks in that situation that the scenes that we get, that our main character, whose name again once again is Becca, sorry, our main character Becca, am I the only one that thinks that like, I just dislike her in those scenes? Like, I think she's worse than he is.
Yeah, like she's having a go at somebody because she's lost her friend.
Yeah, but
But I'm sorry. If you grow up, plain and simple, where you grow up, you will start dating people, and it doesn't mean to say you need to lose your friends. You're a cunt if you disown them because they got a boyfriend you don't like
yeah,
or a girlfriend you don't like.
but she's also just like outright making fun of him for being dumb as well.
Yeah,
And he is.
Like,
he is dumb. Right?
Yeah.
We're not gonna say he's not dumb. He is dumb, but like she's just outright making fun of him. He's not actually making fun of her.
Yeah.
And he even says that later in the movie where he's like, I wasn't making fun of you.
I know. And then they're all like, oh, you were. Like, convincing him that he was making fun of him.
You know what they were doing? They were gaslighting the shit out of him.
That's exactly it. But banter is different the world over.
Is this, are we going to get cancelled for this?
Probably. He's not a bully, but he's a fucking bully, you cunt.
Imagine after all the fucking heinous shit that we have said and done on this podcast, that this is the line that we get fucking cancelled for, because we stuck up for the guy in Hocus Pocus.
That's like the one where the guy said Hitler wasn't wrong. Have you seen that one?
No. So
it got took out of context, and it was like fucking. What was it he said again? It was about Blitzkrieg. He was on about tactics. He was on about. Speaking about out of context.
Sorry, speaking about
that was it.
Being taken out of context. The promo clip simply today is just going to be you saying Hitler wasn't wrong.
No, don't do that. You can't. That'll definitely get us cancelled. But yeah, that's how the guy had a whole campaign about it. Going, look, this is the whole clip. And it was basically him going on about tactics in World War II.
I mean, it might get some new eyes on the podcast, Nico. maybe any publicity is good publicity. So
it'll be over there. Is it because it'll be over there?
Yeah.
On the far right, yeah.
Nico believes. Yeah, I get it. Nico believes that Hitler wasn't wrong. Is the big?
He's about that side. He's about that height. He's over there.
I really thought you were gonna do the fucking Hail Hitler salute there, and I was like, I was
not
like,
that dumb.
I mean, it does kind of look like off screen your arm was up in a upwards motion there.
No. Oh. If I was going to do it, I'd do it like the producers. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
It's fucking brilliant.
Jesus Christ.
Hi.
Okay. Okay, let's just steer ourselves away from Hitler as a topic. How did we get on to fucking Hitler?
Because you're talking about being cancelled, and it was the last thing I saw the guy getting cancelled for no reason.
Oh yeah, I was talking about being cancelled, and then you said Hitler wasn't wrong. Okay.
That's so gonna get taken out of context.
It's so gonna be the promo clip.
No.
Anyways, right. There's still quite a few things like in a sort of generalization that I want to talk about. The rumors about this movie even happening, we're going around for a really fucking long time.
Well, they wanted to do it 10 years after.
Yeah.
And then they wanted to do it on the, 20 years after.
Mm-hmm.
But they were never all clear to do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but do you think the fact that we've essentially spent the guts of 20 years anticipating this sequel meant that it was always on a hiding to nothing?
Yes, and I think that's why Disney was smart and went the other way by pleasing this generation more than us.
Well, there is a
Because
big
I think that's just a smart marketing move.
there is a big thing about a lot of the sort of original plot lines really not revolving around this movie at all, and there has been a bit of pushback about that, about the fact that literally, essentially, majority of what happened in the first film has real no impact on this movie. They call it back a couple of times, when one is it Mary's looking through one of the windows and they're watching the original Hocus Pocus, completely breaking the sort of fourth wall there as well, though.
Yeah.
Aside from, and then obviously we've got Billy being back from the original. He's the only one aside from the Sanderson sisters that's a character that's returned.
Yeah, but there's a rumor that in the third one there's going to be the returning characters.
Well, I mean, so they didn't, and like you say, they obviously decided, they made a conscious effort to go into a different direction. I was going to save this for the trivia, but I'll get into some of it now. So, the four other main actors from the original Hocus Pocus said during a reunion this year that they were never contacted or considered for this sequel. They obviously said that talks about the follow-up to the original had been going around for many years. There was a possibility for working their characters into the script, but as time went on, the studio just went a different route. So that it was never on the cards that they anything to do with them really was going to be in this film. And
Yeah.
I think that, and again, is that a generational thing? I think that's to the detriment of this film.
Yes, I agree with you. But I think they were smart for the way that they did it with not taking them in.
Yeah.
Because it means if this was a massive failure, then they could bring them in a third one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
So that's why I think they would have fixed it, But it's interesting to see. So I'm trying to put it into words that I'm meaning.
Yeah,
I
that would be nice.
I think it was because they were trying to get the younger audience into it and proper engulfed in the story that you can push it in a different direction, just for them, built for them.
I think I would have accepted that more though had this movie just been widely beloved, right, by that generation. But it's really not been, is it? It's come out, it's done really, really well. It's done well enough that we're gonna get a third one. It's been I'll get into some of the stats about how well it actually performed later on, but it's done fucking really well. But I think now, I mean, we're a year later, and apart from us on this podcast, is anyone really talking about Hocus Pocus 2?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? So it's come out.
It was as soon as it came out, so they straight away went the focus onto the third one. And
Well,
the
yeah,
only reason it didn't come out this year was all the strikes and everything,
Yeah, but I just think this film's come out. People generally like it. I mean, I think we're on the case that we're both. I think we're both in agreement that we generally kind of like this movie.
Yeah.
We're not sitting here saying it's fucking terrible, but I just don't think it's a patch on the first one.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want a Hocus Pocus 3 then? Are you hyped for it? When you find out that this one was eventually coming out, were you hyped for it?
See, I was hyped for this.
Uh-huh.
Because I was I really wanted to see this. Now that I've seen this and the third one's coming out, I'm I'll watch it because it'll come out at Halloween. But
I think that's the thing, though, isn't it? Because this I think this came out around Halloween, in last year.
Yeah.
And people will watch it. So does that mean that we are kind of hyped for number 3? Because I'll definitely watch it. You'll definitely watch it, and I'm sure for a good huge chunk of people out there, they're definitely going to watch it regardless of how they felt about 2. Because I think the thing is, we have this attachment to the Sanderson sisters at this point. That
yes,
as long as they're there, I think if Hocus Pocus 3 was going to shift focus onto these 3 characters, or 3 main characters in this movie,
oh, that would be a major fuck up.
I would not watch the 3rd one.
Same.
Like, at this point, I think you cannot have a Hocus Pocus movie without the Sanderson sisters. Well, I don't even want to say without the Sanderson sisters. You can't even have, like, I think they have to be the main focus. And we've lost Nico. Excellent. There he is.
There we go.
Here we go.
I don't know what happened there.
Okay.
Everything died in the house.
Okay, well, you're back. You're back. I'm saying,
like,
I don't... It's...
like, even Disney Plus died, so I don't know what happened. I think my internet might be going, so if it goes, you know why. Sorry about that.
Okay, I might have to, just carry this episode. Another solo episode on this. Good. Anyways, I'm saying, like, you cannot have, like, I don't know how much you heard. You can't have another movie without the focus being the Sanderson sisters. I don't even think, even if you took them back, but they were just, like, cameos, that wouldn't work either. Like, I think they have to be your central focus.
Yeah.
And personally, if it was me on the 3rd one, I would get rid of the main characters from this one. You could still bring in new main characters, but then have some of the original cast come in and be like, almost the sort of thing of like, we've got new main characters, they're trying to fight the Sanderson sisters, and some of the original cast show up to be like, well, we fought them before, kind of thing.
Like Final Destination, you know, where they've got previous characters coming in again. This is how we beat death. You're gonna have to do it. Like that type of scenario. Yeah. I 100% agree with you on that as well.
Oh, so fucking agree. Really...
I'm sorry, but yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, I would actually like to see a prequel, but I know it's not going to be a prequel because I prefer those kids over these kids.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean,
they were funnier.
I don't think we're gonna. I think it would be tough to do a prequel because, you know, some of our characters are getting up there in age as well, which means you would have to recast essentially, because I think Bette Midler was 74 when they made this film. She's looking fucking good for 74. I'll give her that. But you know, then go and do a prequel, you would essentially have to recast, wouldn't you?
Oh, 100%. But I mean, and hate with the kids for they become witches probably as they get older, you know, because that would be good.
Well, so it's like from the opening scene to this film, you mean?
Aye.
Okay. I mean, I could see that.
Because that looked like it would be more entertaining than them. You know what I mean? The mains in this were shite.
I guess that there's no reason why the general plot couldn't be that, where, you know, we sort of float in between back then and now, and we see like something happening back then, and then the modern sort of repercussions of it, or you know, I don't see any reason why we couldn't have something like that. Because
reminiscent or something.
Talking about recasting, if you're going to go that far back for the prequel, I actually think the kids did pretty well. I think portraying the 3 characters. I don't think if you were going to go on and have adult, I think it would be kind of difficult to do that. The older the characters become, I think if you're portraying them as kids, then yeah, that's obviously fine. You're not going to have Bette Midler playing herself when she's fucking 12, are you?
Exactly. But yeah, like I would prefer that. But like all the stuff with the book and all that as well. Like the book was funnier in the first one than this one, I think. They
tried to give the book a lot more to do in this one.
And I don't think it landed.
No, I don't think it landed either anywhere near as much as the first one.
Can you at least disagree with one thing? Come on.
It's really boring when we fucking do this. We probably shouldn't say that we probably shouldn't say during our episode that we're being boring.
Yeah. So this is the most boring episode we've ever done.
Have we ever agreed about something? Watch us give like wildly different scores for this. Like, we're both in agreement, but one of us gives it like a 2 and the other one gives it an 8.
Right. You're going first this time because you changed yours.
No, I'm not going first. That's if you want to go first, Nico, then you host your own fucking episode.
Okay, write it down on a bit of paper so we know you're not going to change it.
Okay, that's not like you can see everything that my hands are doing.
Fuck.
Uh, anyways,
So yeah.
I've lost my place a little bit. Hold on. Okay,
So
okay.
like when he like basically when the guy sees the sons and sisters and says why he did the candle and all that stuff,
Mhm.
I would have preferred it if he was darker then.
I really thought you meant skin color there for a second.
Oh
I
Jesus!
was like, what are you doing?
How racist are you right now thinking that?
How's that racist?
I thought you meant
I
skin color,
honestly
but I
thought,
said darker.
I
What
honestly,
the fuck?
honestly thought that's what you were talking about.
Oh my god.
You mean like tonally?
Well, not meaning skin color, okay?
You think
Are
his
you okay there?
character should have been like tonally darker rather
Yeah,
than
I
being
think
as
but
upbeat as he is.
are you okay? This is genuinely the one that's getting us cancelled.
I
Hitler was right, and could he be darker? You know what I
You
mean?
just
What
did
the
it again.
fuck?
Hitler was right.
Oh, fuck off! Right? There's gonna be a third one. What's the third one gonna be? Because they say it comes in threes. And the thing is, it wasn't me that did it the second time. You were the one that did it the second time.
So who's gonna do the third?
I know.
Who's gonna do the third? Any comments on the current crisis between Israel and Palestine?
Well, I think no, no, no.
I think if there's anything that's gonna get us cancelled in 2023, it's probably something about that.
Yeah. Oh Jesus. What I think this is missing is a genocide scene.
I think
Just.
I think the only thing we're missing is a wee Jimmy Savile cameo.
Oh no.
Just trying to open the book and then he just comes in. Now then. Let
The garden hog.
Can he open the book? Let Jim fix that for you.
I'll get over for you, Quine.
No, we can't. We need to stop.
It's a kids movie and you're on about Jimmy Savile. What the fuck?
Oh, what if she covered a Gary Glitter number instead?
The third one. Do you want to be in my gang?
Maybe it's just like casting a spell in the third one to recruit people, and she sings, "Do you want to be in my gang?"
Oh no! This was our final episode.
I'm really like torn at the minute about whether or not to cut this entire conversation from this episode or just leave it in. Like, a part of me thinks, I don't know, maybe I should cut it. And you like, if anyone who's a regular listener, and you know Nico, I barely cut fucking anything from our shows.
We need a vote on this. That's going to be this week's vote. Should we cut out the Gary Glitter and Jimmy Savile?
We've talked about Hitler being right. We've talked about race. We've talked about Jimmy Savile and Gary Glitter, all whilst discussing Hocus Pocus 2.
I know! Well, it is Disney.
We've not made a Jewish joke.
Oh, come on, you mentioned Israel and Palestine, it's thrown in.
I don't know what's just happened. I don't think in all our time, I don't think an episode has ever gone quite off the rails in the manner that this one just has.
Talking of Disney, right? I know this is totally off topic, but did you know the Family Guy episode where they fall into Disney when it was Fox? Remember the episode I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Where that is still on Disney.
Yeah.
I saw it the other day and I was broken watching that. Fell into Disney and they're like, this is a happy place. I could spend the rest of my life here. What's wrong with Disney? Nothing's wrong with Disney. Joe, and then you're like, oh shit, there we go.
We've been
It's still on Disney.
we've been rewatching Family Guy as like our background program lately, and there's tons of fucking Disney slander in there. But I hate watching it.
Yeah.
I hate watching it on Disney Plus because they do cut a lot, and they bleep all the fucking swear words, and
Yeah.
like I'd rather watch it somewhere else. But
yeah.
anyways, Hocus Pocus 2.
The most racist Hitler-loving movie we've ever come across.
Fucking paedophile sympathizers.
That's what the third one's going to be. They're just going to resurrect Hitler.
Who would... Maybe, like, this...
It is a black candle, remember?
Right, I'm...
Black flame candle.
Right, this should be the vote, right? Who would you... who's like the lesser of these evils? Like, if you had to pick one to... You had to pick one to resurrect, right? Who would you do? Who would you resurrect? Would you resurrect Adolf Hitler, Enoch Powell, or Jimmy Savile?
Fuck me, man. What? No. I'd resurrect all three, make them fight the death and kill the last one.
What? When given the opportunity to only resurrect one of them, your choice is to take all three.
All three, make them fight to the death, and
So,
when the last one's there...
You're not going to
stab
try
them in
and
the
think...
eye.
You're not going to try and think, oh, which one of those is the lesser? You know what? Let's just bring back the Jew hater, let's bring back the racist, and let's bring back the paedophile. Why not? Let's just bring them all back.
Yeah, and then just make them fight to the death. Like, could you imagine selling tickets for that? There's not one person in the world that would want to see it.
Ah, so your first thought there is, aha, I can make a few quid off of this.
It is Disney we're talking about. Come on. Where's the thing I got an idea?
Oh, is this a comment on the movie that this is where this episode is now at?
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, do we want to continue to talk about Hocus Pocus 2? Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about it? I mean, I still have a couple of little points.
What are they on? Because I'm a bit scared about where we're going with
Well,
this.
no, it's back. It's back to like regular points.
Okay.
I want to talk about like. So I mentioned it earlier about this sort of redemption arc that we get for Winnie, in particular throughout this film, but in that opening scene, they portray her as being like mean, right? She's like mean spirited.
Yeah.
But I do kind of feel like they're actually the real victims.
Yeah. Because, like, they're being forced into marrying somebody and shit.
Yeah. I do like that sort of running joke with Billy being like, I don't want to be with you. Like, we kissed once. Like, I'd rather be with your sister.
Aye.
You know?
That makes me laugh my tits off every time, like.
Yeah. Is that a good thing?
I've got dibs.
Yeah. Is that a good thing though that they get this sort of sympathetic redemption arc throughout the movie?
Sort of.
Well,
yes and no.
Okay.
Because yeah, it's nice to see, but no, because I like them darker. You okay there?
Oh.
You okay?
I'm
not meaning skin color, okay? I like them dark.
I think. Oh, so you hate them? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, come on, really? Fuck off, you cunt. It's your mind that went here, not mine.
So I think for me it's difficult to sort of balance this because the Sanderson sisters, you know, in that first movie are portrayed as just being fucking evil witches, right?
Yeah.
Evil witches, they want to eat the souls of children. They come back in this one, they want to do the same. And then, but suddenly, like, at the very end, when that final scene when Sarah and Mary, like, she loses Sarah and Mary, and that's the punishment for using this spell that's going to make her, like, the most powerful witch. And she decides that, you know, I'd rather lose all my power than be without my sisters. And it is an incredibly sort of sympathetic thing. It's an incredibly sympathetic scene, and it's probably a kind of way that a good chunk of us would feel in that situation.
Yeah. Like,
Does
she
it does
spent centuries with him.
but doesn't that also just feel out of character?
See, no, because I think that one, I think they only became witches to stay together, so it throws back to the start when you pick up on that. And I quite like that.
I just think
I'm
it's
not
like
gonna lie, that bit I like.
I like I like it, but I just don't know if it kind of fits because I think it would be better like if we had seen her being at least in some minuscule way kind of sympathetic towards her sisters at other point, but she's really fucking mean to her sisters as well throughout.
But she's just Scottish. She's got ginger hair, so that's why.
Okay, fair it is. Alright, you've answered my
You're
question
you're
then.
mean. You're the meanest
Okay,
to the
well,
people you
okay,
love
how
here.
about this then? Does it potentially impact on the third movie when they're obviously going to come back and be our big bads again when we know fine well that they've got this sort of sympathetic redemption arc in the second?
Well, are they going to become back as the big bads? Because there's rumors going about that it's the other witch that's coming back as the big bad.
So well, how do you feel then about the possibility that they're going to come back as our heroes?
I'm not sure about that. That's something that could work if done right, but
What's the
look at
odds
what they
that
did
they're
with this.
what's the odds they're going to do that right though?
Exactly, that's what I'm meaning. Because look at this, they've made it pretty shitty that way. So it could be, it could be good, it could be bad. It just depends who they get to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Last point that I really want to make. I am sick to death. I'm sorry, I really am. Of fucking post-credit scenes.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you, Marvel's totally ruined them. Like, fuck you, Marvel.
Thing is, Marvel did it well, but now
No,
Disney saw
they
that they did it
didn't
well.
really do it. Like, sometimes they did, but come on. You're telling me that every single one of them was done well?
I'm talking about the like back in the day was like the Blade one was my favorite end credit scene.
Yeah, but Blade's like one of the best Marvel movies ever. Apart from Blade 2.
But that was well back in the day before anybody used to do it.
Yeah,
You know
but
what I mean?
Blade 2
And
was better.
my favorite end credit
What are you
scene is the
ignoring me
one in
for?
3. I'm not ignoring you at all. I'm just choosing to ignore your stupid opinion.
Oh, okay. Carry on.
Because we all know where I sit on that, and that's the worst without involved. So my favorite like end credit scene is the one where Hannibal Kane with the werewolf, at the
Yeah.
poker table. That's cool as fuck.
Yeah. I'm not saying they did it bad every time. I just think they've kind of ruined it because it's in every single one
They've
of their films.
overdone it.
It's in every single one of
Yeah.
their fucking films, and I think it's unnecessary. And it's not just Disney who's, guilty of adding in post-credit scenes that really are unnecessary. I don't really feel like obviously they wanted to tease the third movie in this, whatever. I don't think they needed to tease the third movie in this. I think we all knew that regardless of how this movie was received, unless this movie completely fucking tanked and was absolutely horrendous, chances were this was going to be really sort of like the viewing figures for this were going to be really high, and
Yeah.
they were going to make a third off the back of it because those rumors were already circulating before the second one was even released. So I just don't think it's necessary. You can explain it away in the third movie. And I think it's just really cheap as well. Like, I think it was a really call by, like, is the explanation going to be that oh, there's yet another black flame candle? Like, can we come up with something more creative than that to bring them back?
But as I said, the rumor is it's not going to be them that come back.
Well, I think it's difficult. I think they've maybe backed themselves into a corner a little bit with the redemption arc that they gave them in this movie.
Yeah.
And I think that concerns me slightly for the third.
See, the thing is, if they do make them the heroes and the other witch is the big bad, how are they going to do it? You know what I mean?
Do you think original cast and Sanderson sisters team up?
Possibly, I don't know.
Would you? Well, is that something that you think could work?
It's something that could work, but as I said, it all just depends on how they do it.
Yeah,
that's the problem with this. There's so much ways they could go around something in this.
Yeah,
Like I I liked in this how they lost the lookalike competition and stuff. You know,
Yeah, I love that. That was
like,
actually one of the funniest jokes. There's some actually like there's some really famous drag queens in there as well, who are playing
is
the
there?
Sanderson sisters. Like really fucking famous drag queens in there playing them.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, just
So
fun
yeah,
fact for you.
that's quite funny.
Yeah, yeah. That was possibly one of my favorite moments actually when I forgot that even happened. But they lost that. Anyways, Nico, I'm done talking about going through my points about this movie. Have you got anything else you want to talk about?
I sort of like. I know it sounds bad, but in the original one, I liked all the stuff with the devil and stuff. Came for the mistake, the devil. I was hoping they would have done something like this, but it was too PG rated to do something like that in this. You know, I think that's the problem. They made this for the kids.
I think this one, yeah. I think if the first one, and I don't know again if that's just a more modern thing, but I think movies back then were made more to the sort of mid-teen with a few nods to like adults being like, haha, here's the jokes. Like there was a lot more
Yeah,
jokes about, I think, Sarah's promiscuity in the first one.
yes,
You know, and like
and
when they
there's none in here. I
yeah,
think.
when they like meet the bus driver, for example, and she's flirting away with him, or when they meet and mistake the devil and she's flirting because she thinks it's the devil. You know, there's a lot more of that in the first one, whereas like
Yeah,
it's very very toned down in this one. There's
like
some
I
brief
never even noticed it once in this one.
yeah, I mean there's some brief references to her having the affair with Billy,
Yeah, and that's about it.
and that's about it. But yeah, like that sort of completely wiped out in this film. So it does feel a little bit more sort of watered down, doesn't it?
Aye. And that's the thing. Like it seemed a bit too. What's the word? Too watered down
You know
for that.
what? It's you know what I think. It almost seems like too clean.
Yes, yes, that is a very good way of putting it. Actually,
It seems too clean. It seems a little bit too polished.
it's not dark enough. It's a bit too white.
Okay, well, are you done?
Yeah, right there.
Huh?
You okay there?
Yep. You done?
Aye,
You
you
done?
sure?
You done?
You're right.
You done?
I didn't say anything there to try and
Are you
make you
done?
bite at all.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Are you
Yeah.
done? Okay. With that being said, we shall move on to our next segment, and we'll talk about a little bit of trivia. As always, we'll start off with the finances of the movie. According to IMDb, and this is maybe where this movie starts to be like, holy fuck, what did they do? This movie had a budget of $100 million.
Fuck. Jesus. Where'd it go?
Bette Midler?
Obviously, they got a payout.
I mean, I'm assuming the Sanderson sisters will have taken a sizable fee.
Yes.
I don't.
Maybe it was the drag queens. You never know.
Well, I don't really feel like there's anyone else in this movie that's like famous enough to command a huge fee.
Yeah.
But I feel like Sarah Jessica Parker, Kathy and Jamie, and Bette Midler are like they're headline names. They've been A-listers in movies, and like they're proper celebrities, aren't they?
Yeah.
So I feel like they'd have cost. Maybe just getting the rights to one way or another was really expensive.
I bet wanted to do it and wasn't taking no for an answer.
Yeah, they're like, fuck, that's 50 mil we have to spend.
Later down the line, to find out her husband owned it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's like, fuck you. Anyways, there is obviously no box office for this because it didn't go to theaters. It was released straight to streaming services, straight to Disney Plus. Having said that, based on the number of hours watched domestically in the first 3 days, Hocus Pocus 2 is the #1 film premiere on Disney Plus ever in the United States. So this is
That doesn't surprise me.
this is literally the most successful thing in terms of like how many people have viewed it. Maybe not necessarily in terms of how it's received, but in terms of like eyes on this movie, it is the most successful thing in the United States ever on Disney Plus.
And yeah, that doesn't surprise me in the
No,
slightest.
and that completely explains why Hocus Pocus 3 is coming.
I've got a bit of trivia for you.
Go for it.
It was backed by 3 people.
Go for it.
I was no, I'm not gonna do it. I was gonna go Hitler, Jimmy Savile. Sorry. Sorry, I stopped myself. Sorry. I feel disgusted with myself with that one.
Is that what you call a
Anyway,
joke, is it?
it was gonna be, but I bottled the punchlines.
I think that was possibly worse that you bottled it.
Oh
Anyways, of course, the original director of Hocus Pocus, Kenny Ortega, has said that he, like the original cast, was not approached by Disney about this movie, nor has he been approached by them about Hocus Pocus 3. It is rumoured to be the same director for 3 as for this one, so Anne Fletcher, who directed this, is reportedly directing Hocus Pocus 3, which...
no! Boo.
Oh, no, not a fan?
Well, did she just made this plain?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. But also, like, some of the like... Because I think one thing that might have, like, appeased us, like, even some of the sort of sub-characters from the first one, even if they had made cameos...
Yeah, like the cat or something, you know what I mean?
Well, the guy who played Ernie, Ice, in the original film, Larry Bagby is his name. He apparently was really interested, like, was really keen to have a cameo in this. So much so that they actually submitted him for a cameo to be the shop owner, so to essentially for Gilbert's role.
All right, okay.
They never ever contacted him back.
Fuck.
Like, so it's not even a
Big
case
heads.
of like they were in conversations with some of them. They were just not even contacting them.
That's shocking.
Like, I think that's poor.
I think that's piss poor, to be honest.
Yeah. This movie, unlike the original, wasn't filmed in Salem, so all the local Salem businesses that we see in this movie, the majority of them are based on like real life Salem businesses. They all
Yeah.
had to be contacted to give permission for their logos to be used in this movie. So, for example, there's a sign for the Salem Plant Witch, hanging above on the storefront. So, like, they had to be contacted to be like, can we use, like, they were contacting real businesses and not just making up businesses. I don't know why you wouldn't just make up businesses.
Yeah. Unless they were in the first ones and they were just trying to throw back, you know what I mean?
Seems like an unnecessary step. I mean, they everything else in this film was blander than the first, so why not make that blander than the first as well?
Yeah, true.
Sarah Jessica Parker, obviously playing one of our main characters in this movie, plays a witch who was executed during the Salem witch trials. She, you know the program Who Do You Think You Are? Where people
Yes.
research their celebrities essentially research their family lineage and their family history. But there was an episode, I think obviously in the American version, with her researching her family history. She discovered that her 10th great grandmother was arrested in Salem, Massachusetts in the late 1600s for committing sundry acts of witchcraft and choking a neighbor to death.
Well, that's better than fucking Pied Piper and all the kids, is it?
So, but yeah, so there you go. Playing a witch, and she's descended from an accused witch.
Well, was she found guilty, so she's a witch?
The case never went to court.
Did she drown?
No, she escaped with her life.
So what? She escaped and just got away.
Yeah, apparently.
Nice.
That was what I read. In that opening scene, the spiders that attack the Salem villagers are golden silk orb weavers, which you can tell by the markings on their bodies. They're unusually large spiders. Apparently, their torsos alone can be 3 inches long, but they're completely harmless.
Cool.
Their bites cannot even pierce our skin.
Okay.
So, what's even the point?
But they look cool.
They look cool. What's the fucking point of their existence, though?
Well, it's like the daddy long legs.
It's like that.
You know that thing.
It's like that Lee Evans joke. Daddy Longlegs is just like an idiot with a shotgun.
No, Daddy Longlegs is like the most potent venom in a spider, but it doesn't have fangs.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. It's like an idiot with a shotgun.
Aye. So yeah, with no
Um,
bullets.
Bette Midler apparently is the person who's like most responsible for Hocus Pocus 2 finally happening. She did an interview where
Good.
she stated that she started to realize how popular the original film had become. She's stated many times in interviews that this is by far and away the most fun role that she's ever played was as Winnie Sanderson in the original movie.
Yeah.
Apparently she was very surprised when she heard about the sort of following that the original had. She started making calls. She went online. She was like she'd seen all like the merchandise that was about, and she obviously realized that there was something happening about the movie, and she said she called the studio once every year to ask them to green light Hocus Pocus 2.
That's cool.
So it was actually like our characters who were really behind this. Doug Jones, who plays Billy, who we've not really talked about. There's not really much, I don't think, to talk about him in this movie. Again, I think he was funnier in the first than he was in this
And he's
one.
barely in this one.
He's not really in it that much. It's a good throwback. But again, though, like I feel like if you just had more of that, he's in this one. There's a couple of throwback moments. Great. I think if we had more of that with a couple of other characters, I'd have felt a lot better about this film.
Like if he tied in with them trying to get rid of the Sanderson sisters, that would have been better than
Yeah.
just him with the fucking dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He says though
From the
that
shop.
the wig he wears in this one is the exact same wig he wore in the original.
Fucking hell, that's quite cool.
That's pretty cool. The last piece of trivia that I've got, Kathy and Jimmy, who plays Mary in the original movie, her mouth is so she has a crooked mouth. In the original movie, it's crooked to the right, but in this time, it's crooked to the left. Purely because she says she just can't do it on her right side anymore. Like it hurts too much. She obviously like has done it like loads over the years, so she can't do it anymore. The movie explains the change away by having Winnie slap Mary, and her I don't know like her mouth then changes side. So I think she does it very briefly originally, and she gets slapped and it changes side.
That's quite cool.
I think that's fun. Like that's cool. That's a cool little detail.
Yeah.
Anna in the chat says, well, that explains it. Explains it all. The student didn't really care and probably got tired of her calling them. So maybe you're. I mean,
fuck, we've got to do this movie now. Is what they did.
Possibly, but they did back it to the tune of 100 million. So
I know.
So possibly.
Fucking hell.
Anyways,
she probably went, give me the merch money or do another movie. They went, okay, second movie it is then.
Yeah. Anyways, do you know any other pieces of trivia from you?
Apart from the Hitler bit.
Okay, with that being said, we will move on to our final segment. And we'll talk about the ratings and the reviews. As always, we will start off with the critics' scores. IMDb gave this movie a 6 out of 10. 5.6 from Metacritic. Actually, will I read out what Hocus Pocus got first?
Yeah, go on.
So, at Hocus Pocus, IMDb... I'll reveal the first two. So, Hocus Pocus, IMDb gave that a 6.9 compared to giving Hocus Pocus 2 a 6. Metacritic gave Hocus Pocus a 4.3 and has given the sequel a 5.6.
Wow.
What do you think? So for Hocus Pocus, the first one, the Rotten Tomatoes critics gave it 38%, with the audience at 71%. So what do you think the critics and audiences scored the sequel, Hocus Pocus 2?
See, I think the critics would be high on this because they've been waiting for it for so long. So I'd say about 50, 60 for that. And I think the audience were split, so I think that would be about 50, 60 as well.
So the Rotten Tomatoes critics for Hocus Pocus 2 scored it 65%.
Not far off, but yeah.
And the audience scoring it 47%.
So yeah, not far off of that either. Because that's what I thought. I thought they would have changed because basically it was so highly rated with a nostalgic factor and it was never well received. And then I remembered it was more well received with the critics.
But I think for me, like, this is one of those instances where Rotten Tomatoes is like blatantly contradicting themselves. So they've scored Hocus Pocus so low, and they've scored this significantly higher, but the critics' consensus, Hocus Pocus 2 is basically a boiling cauldron of nostalgia, but that's just enough for this belated sequel to cast a reasonably effective spell. So it's essentially saying, this is okay, but it's not good. It's not as good as the original. Yet they've scored it almost double the score that they scored the original.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like one of those instances where I just think the critics are way fucking off on this. Rotten Tomatoes audience...
Critics are probably trying to make up for fucking up with the first one.
The audience have got it more on point. They're much lower with this one, with a 47%. Their consensus is Hocus Pocus 2 has its moments, but for fans who've waited years for a sequel to the original, this is mostly a disappointment. So what they're saying is essentially, if you're new to the franchise, you'll probably like this. If you're coming to it from you grew up with Hocus Pocus, you're probably not going to like this. Or not going to like
That's
this.
That's pretty much what we've been saying the whole way.
Yeah, absolutely. As always, we throw it out to our listeners and our viewers and asking for some of their scores. Anna, if you want to give a score in the chat as well, and we'll add yours into the total review as well if you're still listening. Just a few this week that I'm going to read out because I usually drag this bit out a little bit. Late and Confused on Twitter says I'd maybe give it an 8. It felt largely like more of the same as the first, but I love seeing the Sanderson sisters in modern times, along with just how and where they got their witchy powers from. Nothing wrong with a nice bit of backstory. I agree with that, and I agree kind of with a lot of that, just not the fact that you're giving it an 8, to be honest.
Yeah.
Dissect That Film gives it a 5. It has fun elements to it. Seeing the Sanderson sisters back was great, but everything else just did nothing for me. Anna says she's still here. Well, give us your score then. Sarah Marie...
she's just getting out of the attic first.
Is that what it is? Sarah Marie gives it a 6 out of 10. The cast was great, but this isn't going to be a film I will revisit often. I did like seeing the Sanderson sisters again in a modern age where the new technology seems like new sorcery. Again, I get some of that. I've watched this 3 times now. I watched it when it first came out. I watched it again for the purposes of the mini-sode that we did, and I watched it again, obviously for the purposes of this episode. I don't think I'm ever going to go and watch this again.
Okay.
Overall...
I agree. I'll watch the first one again, put it that way.
This one again. If I'm going to watch Hocus Pocus, I'll watch the original, thanks. Overall, our listeners and our viewers gave this movie a 6.3, which is significantly lower than the 8.4 that they gave the original, so that's tracking. Anna's in the chat there. She gives this a 6 out of 10. It's not great, but I give it a 6. Not great, not as good as the original. Fair. Nico, that just leaves me and you. So on a scale of 0 to 10, what would you rate Hocus Pocus 2?
Well, funny, I'm agreeing with everybody else. Like I've been agreeing with you the whole episode. I'm giving it a 6 because, as I said, it's actually decent, but it's just not a patch in the first one.
Fair it is. We were both also in complete agreement about the original, by the way. We both gave the original 8s.
Yeah, because like, there's no way this is ever going to get an 8 or a 7, really.
No.
But it's decent enough.
I think you're being mildly generous. I think I agree with what you're saying, but for me, all of that adds up to this just being a bang average movie. Like, the Sanderson sisters, of course, are the absolute highlights, right? They're the absolute highlights. They're by far and away the best part about this movie is those 3 characters. You could literally, I think you could probably put them into most settings, most movies, and they'll be entertaining, and I'd watch them. But everything else surrounding this for me falls really fucking flat. So it makes it a bang average movie, and I have it written down, Nico, that I've scored this. Mm-hmm. You can't see it. Oh, you can't see.
You disappeared.
You can't.
Now I'm here. Now I'm not.
Oh. I don't know if you can see that. A 5 out of 10.
Yeah, it flashed for a second.
A 5 out of 10. That's what I'm going to give it.
That's not bad, because I was on like a 6 or a 5.5, and I gave it a 6 because, well, when we're talking about there's funnier moments that were remembered, put it that way.
Yeah. Overall, though, given our scores, Anna's score, your score, critic scores, listener scores, Hocus Pocus 2 gets an average of 5.8 out of 10. And it means it's in 66th place of the now 91 movies that we have covered on the show. So a little bit lower than you predicted. Not a massively lower, because you predicted 6.5, didn't you? So it would have been 55th, and it's 66th. So it's like 10 places lower.
Yeah.
Movies just above Hocus Pocus 2. So the three movies is just below Horns, Halloween 2, and Insidious.
I'd rather watch this over Insidious there.
I still don't understand like how you're like so like I get maybe like that's not your franchise, that's not your style of movie, but you gave it a 2. It's not a 2 level movie.
It's in my personal opinion, it's just garbage.
Yeah, but you gave Insidious the same score as you gave Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Like,
I'd rather watch Winnie the Pooh.
They're not compatible. Wow. You just want to watch Winnie the Pooh for the tits.
That's the only thing that would get me to watch Winnie the Pooh again, compared to
What
Insidious,
if there were
where
tits?
They just act like tits.
What if there were tits in Insidious?
When they just they act like tits. They are fucking tits. It's just annoying.
So that's a 3. It's just above, however. Bad Samaritan, Critters, and Saw 2.
I'd rather watch Critters out of all those movies, to be honest.
I'd rather watch Saw 2.
The original Gremlins.
I'd rather watch Saw 2 out of all those movies. But I'd rather watch Saw 2 and Critters over Hocus Pocus 2.
Yeah.
Talking
of Critters, I heard a rumor that they're planning on making it again.
Yeah, I heard that as well. I think we'll wait and see on that one though.
Because it's meant to be the folk that are doing Toxic Avenger or want to do Critters.
I think it's a wait and see how Toxic Avenger does first.
Exactly.
It's very much that. Anywho, that is gonna do it. Oh wait, no, it's not. Anna says unless it's Red Door, it doesn't deserve to. Yeah, so Insidious. She's quite a big fan of the Insidious movies. Apart from the new one, Red Door, she hates that one. So,
okay,
she disagrees with you. Anyways, that is gonna do it for this week's show. Nico, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, no problem at all. We've got, before you come back onto the show next week, Nico, there's going to be a bonus episode released. Anna's coming back on the show. We're going to do a quick little bonus episode to fill in some time. We're going to be talking about The Woman in Black.
Yeah.
With Daniel Radcliffe. Oh, actually, on that note as well, Nico, you've got some scores to give us.
Okay.
I'm assuming you still haven't seen Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yes, I have now.
You have now?
Yes.
Okay. And what would you score Five Nights at Freddy's?
The fake Five Nights at Freddy's is fucking 10 times better.
Willy's Wonderland is so much better, isn't it?
Yeah, like what the fuck? Like genuinely, what the fuck? I'll give it like a 4 out of 10 because it was just so disappointing.
So that's exactly what I gave it. I gave it a 4 out of 10 as well. It doesn't change.
I haven't listened to the podcast on it yet either. That's the worst bit.
It doesn't change the position of the movie. It's just went from an average of 4.8 to an average of 4.7. So you've just pulled it down a little bit, but it's in the same place. So it hasn't changed the point.
But yeah, the problem with it was there was a fake one of it out so much better.
Yeah.
And genuinely, it was just they could have done so much and it was shit.
Yeah. Saw 10, have you seen that yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, that's fine. And Maniac.
Maniac. Which one's that again? Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
I haven't rewatched it yet. So I was going to rewatch it before I gave the score.
Okay, well, hurry up.
Because it's been like 20 years since I've seen that.
Okay, well, hurry up and get that rewatched.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's been a while.
Okay, well,
but
you've updated.
I liked it.
Yeah. Okay, well, you've updated us on one, so you've made some progress there. So we'll let you off a little bit.
I've still been busy as fuck. I'm sorry. It's silly season for us. You know that.
Yeah, I know. Anyways, once again, if you would like to support this podcast, you can do so. We're on X at Damn Podcast. Facebook and Instagram is Pod of the Damned. You can email us at podofthedamned@gmail.com, and you can subscribe to us on Patreon, which is patreon.com/Pod of the Damned. The next time you're on the show, Nico, it's Christmas time. We're talking Christmas movies. And we're not talking horror Christmas movies this year. We're just talking about Christmas movies.
Mine's is fucked up.
I mean, mine's is fucked up, but for very different reasons.
Yeah. So what are you doing again?
So my movie's up first this year, because when we do these things where we actually pick specific movies, we always put your ones first.
Yes.
So we're doing my one first this year, and we're talking about It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, great. Thank you.
Do you not like that one?
It's fucking. Like, if you're my age, you saw that every year, whether you liked it or not.
I've seen that every year for I think almost my entire 32 years on this planet.
Jesus. I gave up about fucking 14.
Well, I
So I'm
think
gonna have to rewatch it.
I'm getting a nice good window into the review that you're going to give for this movie.
Yeah. I hated it back then, put it that way.
Nico, when we come to reviewing your movie, though, what are we going to be talking about?
We're doing a Dolph Lundgren classic.
Is there such a thing?
Exactly. We're doing Dark Angel.
Dark fucking Angel. Here was me, like, I was really, really expecting you to pick
Die Hard or something.
I really fucking thought you were gonna pick Die Hard. I really thought you were gonna pick Die Hard, and if you didn't pick Die Hard, I really thought you were just gonna go for some generic classic Christmas film. Like,
No.
you know, actually, I if you didn't pick Die Hard, I thought you might have went for like a Muppet movie or something like that.
Do you know I was actually close to doing Scrooge? Not Scrooge. What's it called? The Muppet Scrooge.
Muppets Christmas Carol.
That's the one. I was very close to doing that.
I really wish you'd fucking picked that, to be honest. But no. As per usual, Nico has to be different, and we're doing fucking Dark Angel.
'Cause I come in peace.
Makes a change from where you usually come. Anyway.
Oh, it's well known you'd have watched it yet. Set you up for the classic line.
No, I went for the cum joke instead. Shocking. Anyways, on that
the other host finally making an appearance. Say hello, Shira.
Hello, Shira. Finally. She's been very quiet.
Say goodbye as well.
She's been very quiet. Last 2 episodes she's been very quiet.
She wasn't even in the room for most of that, to be honest.
No.
Annie was hiding behind the camera, but he was sleeping.
Filming.
I think he's still there, but I'm not sure.
Anyways, as I said, that's going to do it for this week's episode. Thank you to everyone who has been watching us live, and for everyone who's been dropping in, thank you very much. If you're listening to this on the podcast download, thank you very much. Don't forget, if you are listening to this on the download and you would like to take part in these live discussions, just follow our social medias. We post when we're going live there as well. Follow us on Twitch, twitch.tv/podofthedamned. Turn your notifications on. You will get an email sent every single time that we go live, so you can keep track of us that way as well. Got big plans coming into 2024. As I said, the very first episode of 2024 is going to be our 100th episode. But between then, we've got our bonus episode with Anna, we've got our Christmas episodes, and we'll have our end of year awards, which are all still going along on our socials. I've been falling a little bit behind with them lately, but I'll be getting caught up in the next couple of weeks. And we'll be getting some awards, our 3rd annual awards, Nico.
Yeah. So is Anna picking a Christmas movie?
Anna is not picking a Christmas movie. Because we do not have enough space to fit in a 3rd Christmas movie this year.
Okay.
Barely have space to fit in the 4 episodes that we've got left. I'm not squeezing in a 5th.
Okay.
But Anna, we'll be seeing more of Anna into the new year as well. We'll be seeing a bit more of her. I think she's keen to continue her podcasting journey with us, so I'm sure we'll be seeing more of her as well. But yes, thank you once again, Nico, for joining me. And until next week on the Pod of the Damned, just remember, what are you, Nico?
You're petting a cat.
You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't.
No, I'm